Really quick, I'm gonna do a quick diagnosis on this. I'm still putting in that evaporator in the Jeep here. Uh, Let me see. So, history on this car. I never worked on this car before. The person who owns the car has only had it for like a week. The car's been down for like 3 months, so I understand. The person, reasons being, there was some issues with the power steering. The guy put used parts on the car, uh, three power steering pumps, and allegedly a rack and pinion, and there's no avail as far as fixing the um, power steering issue. So, I said really quick, the car was projected to sit for a little while, but I figure I gotta wait on the evaporator to come from Greensboro. So I just finished my other job pretty quick. So let me just knock this out, see what's going on with this, at least to see what's going on. Well, let me assess it, and maybe you'll do a repair. But what's happening? The car does not work efficiently down below when you turn the wheel left and right. And like I said, three pumps on here, rack and pinion. They just said, you know what, I'm taking it to somebody else. So here it is. First thing I want to do, I could look into the live data of the power steering system and see if there's any type of activity on the pressure sensor. So let me get my scan tool loaded up. There's a. Let me see. I don't even think anyone will be able to see this. It's really in a tight spot back there. Yeah, on top of the pump, there's a pressure switch, and it indicates on and off. So I was gonna look and see if it's what state it's in while it's off, and then cut the car on and see what state if it goes into an on or off position. So let's do that. At least it will indicate there's some pressure somewhat there. If not, um, we'll go to the next option. I tried putting in the just putting the manual information on the car, something generic, and I got some generic information during the live data. So what I did was I just put the VIN number in there, and I'm gonna see what comes up because I couldn't access the power steering pressure switch or anything steering related. So I'm gonna see what happened. If it doesn't work, my next option, I'm thinking, if it's just on and off, I'll get. I'm gonna assume that it just grounds out. So I'll put like a test light to it, and whatever state it's in while it's off, when it activates, assuming the pressure switch is good, it'll just indicate that there's like an on or off signal. So we'll see what happens. Let me see if I can get something pulled up. All right. So I guess the guy made it a little easier on me because there's some exposed wires. Oh shit. This is what I found. He just twisted them together. So you see the quality of work. It's pretty oily and dirty back there. So you see what you're. I guess he got real discouraged and like, fuck it. But I'm pretty sure it grounds the signal out. I just checked both of them. Ignition's on, car off. There's no hot. So I'm gonna turn the car on and see what happens. There's still no signal. I checked both negative and positive. So what I'm gonna do, cut it off, and I'm gonna let the fluid just drain down, and hopefully, when I start it back up, if it has like just like an instance of pressure, it'll probably cut the switch on and activate. So I'm gonna let it just sit for a second, then start it up and see if I see the test light just come on for an instance. All right, I'm gonna try to start it up and see if it just comes on for an instance or not. I did. I don't know. Oh shit. Oh, what's going on here? Okay. I don't know. My thing just got dark. My battery's about to go dead. I don't know if you saw that. but the light came on just really quick and came off. Let me do it again. I don't know if you can see that. It came on and then like came off really fast. I'm gonna try to get it one more time. I need to put my device on charge, but what that's indicating is that there's some type of insufficient flow. So I'm gonna run after that reservoir and see if there's any type of obstruction. All right, okay, I'm gonna try it one more time. I can't get it to do it again. I mean, it did it for a second, but that's what I'm gonna go after. All right, let me charge this joker up. So here we are at the reservoir. I'm gonna take this feed line off here and see if there's any fluid coming out and how fast it's coming out. It makes a mess, oh well, because I gotta clean this up anyway. Let's see what happens. Cross your fingers, because everything is leading towards the obstruction. If you notice, look how slow that fluid's coming out. I tell you what I'm gonna do temporarily. I'm just gonna let that drain. I mean, like I said, it's gotta be clean anyway. Oh shit! You know what? I don't even have any fluid. I'm gonna pull this off, clean it as best as I can, because we don't want to throw a part at it, and flush it out. Try to get the restriction out. Put it back on and test everything before we put a new one on it. And let me tell you how do I know this could be it seems like a restriction from experience. And I got an embarrassing story, but I'll save that for another day. But that's why I don't talk about other mechanics, because hell, I've made mistakes and I don't mind helping other mechanics find a solution to a problem. Let's pull this out. Something. Oh yeah, so take it. I've made it now. I've made my share of mistakes. I'm just gonna put it that way. Let's put some fresh fluid in there, but it was already messed down in here. I'm gonna shoot it with some purple power, let that soak, take all that oil down. Like I was saying, I had a car that I worked on. It was a Honda, like a 92 Accord, and I just knew everything had to have been damn shit's wrong. Then like it didn't have any power steering. I flushed it. It flushed fine. Everything worked perfect when you flush it. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, everything it flushed. There was fluid going out of the return, but little did I know there was no fluid going to the inlet. Let me get. Hold on. So there was no fluid going to the inlet. So what I did was, I put a new power steering pump on it. The pump was leaking. It needed that. I was like, well, needed a hose because they had a leak. Mind you, this car's pretty old, so it needed those two things. It was just everything still wasn't working. It threw me off. Hell, at the time, I'm like, well, it's brand new. We can't overlook it. Shoot. Put a rack and pin on it. Convinced them to do that. Still didn't work. Everything still flushed fine. Wound up being, I was like, you know what? I stumbled across this information on Identifix. Somebody had an issue with the reservoir and put a reservoir on it. It worked fine. Worked perfect. Seriously, I'm like, I felt real bad. Felt really guilty. And I don't know, it was kind of deserving. Like, if I lose this customer, I deserved it because I should have been better at it. So, long story short, I made a mistake. It happens. But that's what makes me more precise, more cautious, try to be as accurate as possible. So, you get older, things change. All right, let me flush this out. I want to show you this unit is just obstructed. That's all it is. And I'm gonna see if I can get the camera to pick this up. All down in there. There's contaminants. There's dirt. I don't even know what this sludge stuff is that's built up in it. I'm gonna try to filter it out and get it on a rag and see what happens. All right, I got a fresh rag here. I'm gonna tip it upside down and see what stuff looks like. That's what's in there. That's whatever it's not metal. So I don't know. I'm not sure how that dirt got in there, but that's what's stopping it up. I'm gonna flush it out with brake cleaner. Get as much as I can out, but I'm not gonna sit there and show everything. But the problem's obvious, and I just wanted. This is my first time doing that type of test, testing the pressure sensor in that fashion, seeing if it'll actually produce a signal. So we didn't see anything, but there was like a little blip, like a little instant, which shows that there was, in this normal static state, this off state, it doesn't ground anything, but once it builds pressure, then it sends a ground signal. So now when I repair this, theoretically, I should be able to get a consistent ground signal, assuming that pressure switch not activated when it sees a large amount of pressure. So I'm assuming that pressure switch stays on while it's running. So that light should have been on. It should have been grounded. But when you turn the wheel, the pressure drops and then it goes into an off state. So that's my conjecture here. So, all right, let me flesh this out. Where I'm going, I'm just going the opposite direction. So this is the feed that goes directly to the pump. I'm just going to go the opposite direction there. This is brake cleaner. Put the top on. Slosh it around. I think I might change my mind as far as trying to see what's in here. Wow. You can see all that stuff broken up inside of there. Let me get another rag right quick. Clean rag. See that stuff sitting in there. I don't think I'm gonna get everything out of here. So that's more of it. So, all right. Change of plans. I had to go outside of my comfort zone here. So I went and got a used one. The only reasons being, I can't get my hands on this reservoir, and two, cost wise, it was $115 for a new one. So if I would have waited, it would have been here 4 days. So I got it. I got a used one. It's cleaned out. Looks real clean. So we're gonna get this installed. It'll work just fine in comparison to what the other one was. This will do it. So what is projected is let me get my, hold on. So what is it projected? This is gonna work for one, because it was it was an obvious restriction, and two, we're gonna see if that pressure switch, that on and off switch, starts lighting up immediately once everything gets working. And when we turn the wheel, the pressure switch should deactivate, cut it off. I'm just hoping there's nothing else wrong with it as a result of the previous repair. So, as long as it started working, I completed my job. Alright, so I'm gonna start it up now and see what happens. Ah, wet. Alright, well, despite me being inaccurate, I'm okay with that. I learned something new. I'm going to, this power steering's working now. So I'm gonna turn the wheel and see what happens. So it was the opposite of what I was expecting, but not really. It's just what I thought was it applied. Well, I thought when it starts running, there will be pressure, enough pressure present for the light to come on. But when I turn the wheel, then a sufficient amount of pressure is present to where the light will illuminate. Either way, this car is fixed. Power steering is working perfect now. I'm just going to check over for any other additional issues, leaks, and I want to ship it off as it is from what I repaired, and clean my air up a little more. But other than that, man, see. I want to add also one thing I noticed. The center there, in the middle there's a fountain. I guess that's the return line here. There's like a little fountain in there, swirling around. See if I can. But I guess if your power steering is suspected to pump or some insufficient flow, hey, check that. It might be something worthwhile. But like I said, this car's fixed.